Hey, what's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I am your host, Paul Maskill, where I focus on helping guide you to have a business that produces consistent, positive cash flow. In doing so, you will have clarity and confidence that your business is finally headed in the right direction. Today is a solo show. It is the first Monday of the month. Every first Monday of the month, I do a solo show as your CFO to really dive into numbers, financials, to give you the clarity and confidence that your business is headed in the right direction. So we are going to dive into today 5 ways to improve the ROI on your marketing. So a lot of times it might feel like we're driving blind. I talk to a lot of business owners every day who just say, I don't know, my marketing company handles that. And what I want all business owners to do is take ownership of everything that's going on in their business. There are 3 things that I hear all the time, and it is not okay. One, I don't know, my marketing company handles that. I don't know, my CPA handles that. And I don't know, I have a bookkeeper and they handle all that. Those 3 things you need to be overseeing. So what I want to dive into today are 5 ways to improve the ROI on your marketing, and it has nothing to do with marketing. So as a CFO for trade businesses, my job is to make sure that you know exactly what levers to pull to achieve your definition of success, freedom, and wealth. You are no longer driving blind. You have a dashboard, you have a scoreboard that is tracking your success to make sure you end up where you want to go. Think back when you started your business, those hopes, those dreams, those goals, those visions. We want to make those a reality. And to me, the easiest way to do that is using numbers, which allows us to remove the emotion out of all decisions, and we can let the numbers dictate where we're going and how we're going to get there. So since the COVID slowdown, almost everybody in the trades I talk to, they want more leads. During COVID, there were leads coming from everywhere. We didn't really have to work that hard. Marketing companies didn't really have to work that hard. Everybody involved in the client experience really just had to show up and deliver the service. And now, not everybody's spending all the money. They're not pulling all these HELOCs out of their home. They're not putting in all the additions and doing all this other work. They're leaving their home and starting to travel, and they are less focused on doing HVAC, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, and all those things. So what we need to do as business owners is start improving the ROI on the marketing that we're doing. So that's what we're going to dive into today, the 5 things you can do to get more out of the leads you're getting, which will improve your revenue, lower your marketing spend on a percentage basis, and put more money in the bank. So the last 6 years, for those of you that don't know, I've spent my last 6 years in the trades as a numbers nerd. So for the last 3 years, I owned an electrical company. Before that, I was a partner in a landscaping company. And I want to share with you today how we can get a better ROI on our marketing from a number standpoint. Like I said, when we can use the numbers and we know what numbers to look at, it'll allow us to know, hey, if we fix this, this will happen. So that's why I do what I do now. So many owners in the trades are so close, in my opinion, to achieving freedom, not having to be at the office every day, not having to deal with technicians, not having to do all the things that keep pulling us into the business. The freedom, the wealth, the prosperity, all those things are so close if we just get a few things dialed in. And a lot of times it is related to numbers. So the first thing that I like to look at to make sure we are maximizing the return on our marketing dollars is our call booking rate. So if your call booking rate is below, I would say 85 to 90%, we've got some work to do. And a lot of times we just hired somebody, I don't know, answer the phone, book the calls, figure it out. So how do we start improving that call booking rate? So we can work our way backwards from there. So first, we need to know, what does success look like for the CSR that's answering the phone? So if success is call booking rate, we need to incentivize that behavior. In my opinion, the best way to do that is performance pay. So the better they are at booking calls, the more money they make, because we know how much each call, how much each lead, how much each opportunity is worth. We can pay a premium to somebody that is really good at booking those calls. So how do we know it is good? Now we need a scorecard. So we need to have a scorecard for our CSR so they know what success looks like. And then with performance pay, they know what happens if they meet or exceed those goals. And they also know what happens if they don't meet those goals, because in their regular reviews, if they're not hitting their numbers, there's a great chance that they won't work for you anymore. So how do we not? So now we know what performance pay looks like. We know how we're going to grade them. Now we actually have to grade them. So everybody listening to this call, if you do not have a call center manager in place, you are probably the one that's going to need to be doing this. And it doesn't take that much time. If you're using something like Service Titan, you can listen to all the calls that come in. So I would encourage everybody to listen to 2 or 3 calls that were booked and 2 or 3 calls that were not booked, and see how your CSR is performing, and then provide that feedback on a weekly basis. The only way we get better is providing that feedback. There are so many things in business that frustrate the owner, but the owner never does anything about it. So start listening to those calls. Set aside time on one of your slower days. Maybe it's like a Thursday morning or a Thursday afternoon, whatever it is. Listen to 3 calls that were booked and see how she did or he did, and give them feedback. And then same thing on ones that they didn't book. So listening to calls, because now we're evaluating so we can create that scorecard. Then we're going to training. So not only are we giving that feedback, but we need to have regular training scheduled as well. Your CSR are the first interaction that so many customers have. They are salespeople. Their job is to sell the company, sell the experience to the person on the other end. So that way they book the call. So we need to have regular training. Ideally, it's weekly training where we're role playing and working on different things. And going back to the first step, how do we know what we need to work on, is we need a script. So we need a script that our CSRs follow, so that way they can get better at it and eventually become second nature. A lot of times people say, I don't want a script. I don't want them to sound like a robot. But the best people follow scripts. If you look at Hollywood, actors and actresses, they follow scripts. They are so good at it that it doesn't look like they're actually following a script, that is just real life. So we want to do the same thing. So again, increasing our call booking rate. We need the script. We need the training. We need to be listening to calls so we can provide feedback. We need the scorecard. And then we need to incentivize that behavior with performance pay. So that's number 1, call booking rate. Number 2 thing that I like to look at is revenue per opportunity. So how much money does your company make every time they are in somebody's home? So not how much is their average ticket, how much, is a lead worth. It is, how much do you make every single time that you send a technician to somebody's home? So it's really simple. How much revenue do you do divided by how many calls did you run? That is your revenue per opportunity. When we track that, it makes it a lot easier to budget and forecast and kind of create, your future vision of what do we need to do and how are we going to get there. Now, the 2 main things, there are a lot of things that impact revenue per opportunity, but the 2 main measurables are your closing rate and your average ticket. The higher the average ticket and the higher the closing rate, the higher your revenue per opportunity is. So once you know that opportunity, you can look and say, oh, we got 10 calls on the board and our average revenue per opportunity is $1,500. You're going to do $15,000 in revenue that day. So it makes it a lot easier to run a business, and you're not, driving blind. You actually are using numbers and dashboards and scoreboards instead of just gut and emotion. So how can we improve those? There's a lot of ways to do it, but we need a sales process. So every technician needs a sales process. They need the steps to follow, so that way you can then start role playing and practicing and working with your technicians on sales. So that way we can increase the average ticket. We can increase the closing rate. Now, what that sales process includes, that's really up to you and your business. Some of the things that I like to see every business have is providing multiple options. When you provide multiple options and you let the homeowner decide which one works best for them, your average ticket will go up as well as your closing rate will go up. So having multiple options is a must. A lot of people like the good, better, best model. So you're providing at least 3 options. Whatever it is, I would say a minimum of 3 options. The other thing you want to do, no matter your industry, is a safety check. So whatever industry you're in, if you are a plumber, you're going to check certain things. If you're an HVAC technician, you're going to check certain things. If you're an electrician, you're going to check certain things. The reason we do this is not to just sell things to people, to homeowners that they don't need. This is to provide them information on the current status of their home's system. It is no different than going to a doctor. If you go to a doctor because your knee hurts, they are still going to check your vitals. They're going to check your pulse. They're going to check your blood pressure. They might check your eyes. They might look in your ears. They're still going to do all these things. And the reason they do that is they are going to be the last medical professional to see you. And they want to catch anything just in case. Otherwise, we're going to be really upset and say, man, I can't believe they didn't take my blood pressure. The next doctor told me my blood pressure's through the roof. It is the same thing if we are in any of the trades. So if you're an electrician, you're in the electrical space, and you're checking the panel, or you're checking for grounding or GFCI protection or whatever you're checking, that's our job. Our job is to educate the homeowner, and it is their job to decide what they want to do, just like a doctor. Because if we leave that home and don't tell them about things because we're afraid of what they're going to say, or it feels like we're going to sell them something, and if something does happen that you saw but you were too afraid to tell them, they're going to be upset with you. So it is our job to serve the client and provide that safety check. So again, increasing your closing rate and average ticket. We need a great sales process, step by step, so we can role play, we can script it out. We need at least 3 options, and we need to do a safety check. Other things we can add in there is lead with financing. In my opinion, everybody should lead with financing. We have the ability to offer it. It is our responsibility to offer it. It's the homeowner's decision to figure out what works best for them and their financial situation, depending on how long they're going to live at the home and different things like that. So that's number 2, revenue per opportunity. The third thing is how often are you engaging with your current clients? A lot of times we always want more leads. Once we get them and serve them once, we kind of forget about them. They sit in your Service Titan database, or they sit in your jobber database, and we don't do anything about them. So how often are you re-engaging with them? And re-engaging with them can be a lot of different things. It could be sending them newsletters. It could be sending them postcards. It could be sending them text messages. So there are a lot of great platforms out there. We had Phil Risher from Flash on the show earlier this year. They use Go High Level and set up a bunch of automations to re-engage your customers on a regular basis, to remind them that you exist and remind them of what they might need to do for their home system at that time. Chirp is another good one. Chirp does similar things as Go High Level. You can do a lot of different automations to get more people to say yes, increase your customer lifetime value. And there's a good book out there. A friend of mine wrote it, Wayne Mullins wrote it. It's called Full Circle Marketing. And want to dive into this just really quickly. If you imagine a clock, so wherever you're listening to this, you imagine a clock. There's 12, there's 3, there's 6, and there's 9. So 12 o'clock, people don't know who you are. Everybody comes into your business. They're at 12 o'clock. 3 o'clock, we start to get to know them, right? We kind of get to know them, and it's almost like dating, like, oh, this is cool. Should we be friends? Start asking questions. That's when we're first start talking to our customer. Then we get to 6 o'clock, and they are our customer. We have created a relationship. They know, like, and trust us, and they love doing business with us. Then that's where most businesses stop. They become friends, they do business, and then they move back to 12 o'clock to go get more new friends. But if we just take that over to 9 o'clock is where we can turn them into evangelists. Evangelists are people that will go spread the good word for you, i.e., you don't have to pay much in marketing to get more people. So if you think about neighborhood Facebook groups or anything like that, next door, when people say, hey, do you know a good landscaper? The people that get mentioned the most are the people that are reminding their customers the most that they exist. So when we can have people selling for us, the cool thing is everybody they're talking to and telling about your company, they're taking that person from basically, they're skipping 12 o'clock, skipping 3 o'clock, and almost going to 6 o'clock of like, yep, I'm ready to do business with you because 5 of my friends said you're awesome. So when we can take that one more level, so we go from stranger to acquaintances, to customers, to evangelists. If we can get to 9 o'clock and have evangelists, we can then really bypass a lot of the busy work and get just more customers saying yes quicker, spending less money in marketing, increasing average ticket because they already know, like, and trust us. So that is number 3, re-engage with your current clients regularly. Number 4 is pricing. So obviously, if we're spending the same fixed dollar amount and we can increase revenue, like all these things are doing, we are going to lower our marketing percentage. We're going to increase revenue, which means we're getting a better return on our marketing. So one of the best ways to do that is make sure your pricing is in line. So if you're not at least 50% gross profit margin, you've got some work to do. Ideally, you're going to be at 60%. So what does gross profit mean? I see way too many people in Facebook groups and on Instagram and all that. Gross profit is not how much money came in the business. That's your revenue. Gross profit is revenue minus cost of goods sold. So what is cost of goods sold? It's going to be all of your supplies and your material. It's going to be all of your field labor and the cost associated with that field labor. So payroll tax, if you're doing a 401k, if you provide health insurance, workers' comp, so all of your labor, and then any other cost of goods sold. So another thing could be permits. So if you're in one of the three main trades and you're pulling permits, that's cost of goods sold. So, small tools and equipment. If you're buying power tools and your technicians provide their hand tools, those power tools are cost of goods sold because they need those to deliver the service. Without them, they can't. So when we can get our gross profit to at least 50%, we are doing well. Ideally, we get it to 60%, but if you're below 50%, we need to at least get it to 50, which will automatically increase the ROI on your marketing. So again, gross profit margin is not how much money came into the business. It is how much money came into the business minus cost of goods sold, which is mainly field labor and materials, supplies, and then anything else that goes with delivering the service, like permits, small tools and equipment, rentals, that type of stuff. So that's number 4, get your pricing in line. And the last one is we need to actually track our marketing efforts. So as an outsourced CFO, I'm looking at companies' financials every single day. One of the things that kind of frustrates me the most is they have all of the money that they spend on advertising and marketing on their P&L in one bucket. So we don't actually know where it's going. So if you're not doing your books, I would encourage you to tell whoever is doing your books to start breaking that out. So that way, how much is going to direct mail, how much is going to Google, how much is going to your marketing agency, how much is going to yard signs or door hangers. And then that way we can see how much are we actually spending in each marketing avenue. And if we set up our Service Titan properly, we know exactly where all of our revenue is coming from. So that is the key. So how do we set that up? We want to have all the different marketing initiatives out there. We also want to have all the different tracking numbers out there. So people go back and forth with this. I'm a big fan of tracking numbers. So you can have different tracking numbers on your postcards compared to your technician's business cards, compared to your door hangers, compared to your vehicles, all the different things. You can have different tracking numbers. So when people call that number, then Service Titan can attribute how much revenue is coming from that source. So those are, really my kind of 3 things to start tracking your marketing efforts. Break out your books. So if you're looking at your P&L statement and you just see a whole bunch of money of one big glob sitting in advertising and marketing, have whoever's doing your books start breaking that out so we know exactly where the money's going. Then we also want to have tracking numbers set up in Service Titan if we're using Service Titan. If you're not using Service Titan, there are other things out there. CallRail, I think, is one of them. There's other ways we can set up tracking numbers. And then we want to make sure, especially if we're using Service Titan, is to set it up properly so we know where all of our revenue is coming from. So those are 5 ways that you can really start to improve your ROI on your marketing. All the things we went over, the key is making sure it's measurable. We cannot improve something if it is not measurable because we don't know where we're at and we don't know what the bar should be set at. So wrapping that up, call booking rate is number 1. Revenue per opportunity is number 2. Re-engaging with your current clients on a regular basis is number 3. Pricing is number 4. And then tracking all of your marketing efforts is number 5. So the key to all of this is getting started today. My goal is to help hundreds and hundreds, thousands of home service business owners achieve their financial goals, which will allow them to achieve their personal goals, build that wealth, generational wealth, serve your family, prosperity, all the good things. So that way you can make the most out of your time here, especially as your time as a business owner. So if you do need any help, head on over to thebluecollaradvisors.com. There you'll have 2 options. 1, you can book a free call with me. We'll do a business evaluation. We'll do a financial assessment, all totally free. Or you can tackle the number 1 problem I see with businesses, which is being priced properly. So if you go there, you can download my free pricing calculator, which also comes with a step-by-step guide PDF walking you through it, as well as a video walkthrough so you can make sure you are pricing everything properly. So again, we talk about it all the time in the show. When you implement these things, it will not fix your business overnight. There is no magic pill, but we got to start building new habits. And the best way to do that is to just get started. Doing small things consistently will produce big results eventually. In doing things like this and letting numbers guide you, you're really going to start to transform from being that stressed out, uncertain business owner full of uncertainty to a confident, respected CEO with clarity on exactly where you're going and how you're going to get there. To me, the best part about using numbers as the guide and having a CFO is when something isn't right, usually we can feel it. Like we as business owners know something isn't right, but a lot of times we don't know what it is. And then we let our emotions take over and we start making decisions and changes. And it's probably not the best way to do it because we actually don't know what we need to fix. Whereas when you use numbers and you have a scoreboard telling you exactly what's broken or exactly what's working, it's going to give you that clarity and know exactly what's going on in your business. So I'll leave you with this simple math example. Assume you are a $2 million business. Your average ticket is $1,500. Your call booking rate is 70%, and your closing rate is 60%. So $2 million business, $1,500 average ticket, you book 70% of the calls, and then you close 60% of those. If you just increased your call booking rate from 70% to 80%, which is very easy to do, and you start closing at 65% instead of 60%, which is also very easy to do, you'll have an extra $475,000 in your business. You will go from a $2 million company to a $2.5 million company simply by increasing your call booking rate by 10%, going from 70 to 80, and then increasing your closing rate from 60% to 65%. That's mind-blowing. We don't have, that's with no more leads, no more marketing spend, just getting better at all the things that impact our business. So again, if you have any questions, go to the bluecollaradvisors.com, send me an email, reach out to me, book a call, check out that pricing calculator. But again, it is my goal to make sure you have all the information you need to be successful. Get out there, go crush it. We'll talk to you guys soon.